Good evening. This is Ernest Green. I am sitting here with Ian Wardenski, and we are doing a Zoom interview to talk about his concert, which is coming to the Live Art Studio on December 1st at 7:30 p.m. And he is bringing his quintet and really has some interesting music. So let's just get into it. Ian, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So
It's
excited to be here. So excited
yeah,
to play for all of you on the first.
yeah, and we'll see you in person on the first.
Yes.
You have a wonderful group of players with you to make the quintet,
Mhm.
and then you have a special guest, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But tell us a little bit. Just give us a snapshot of what our audience is going to hear on the 1st of December.
The primary focus for the December 1st concert is a new suite that I wrote. It's a 5 movement suite, and it's all based around this particular pitch collection or this thematic idea. And that idea is presented over the 5 movements. And it's presented as structural material, right? So it's very clear what it is. Then I play around with it, and sometimes it's kind of buried within various parts,
Mhm.
right? It's kind of just beneath the surface. Other places it kind of appears in more like a transitional role, right? Setting up different sections of
Right.
the composition. It's a 5 movement suite titled Unfoldings because of how this thematic idea, this pitch collection, how it unfolds over the
So
five.
tell everybody in Zoom land what you mean by a pitch collection.
Yeah, so it's just a collection of notes, and it's not necessarily based off of a scale,
Right.
right? But rather just, in my case, I kind of came about them in sort of a random way, and I organized them in a way that I could understand certain qualities about them.
Right.
And so organizing them in such a way that gives them sort of structure, we'll refer to it as a pitch class or pitch
Right.
collection.
I feel like we're sort of channeling a little bit of John Coltrane.
Yeah, I mean, Train is definitely a huge influence. An album like A Love Supreme.
That's what I was just going to say. I love
Yeah,
Supreme.
yeah. I mean, and that quartet, right? I mean, that quartet. It's funny you mentioned that because the first movement, the way it opens up, I remember I was writing it, and I played it for Frank Russo, the drummer in the quintet, and I
Right.
said, "This is such a McCoy Tyner ripoff, isn't it?" And he
Oh my God.
and he said, "No, man." He said, "No, just go with it."
Yeah, I was struck by the fact that you are really the music you play is really an exploration. You're not sitting there going, okay, we're going to play Satin Doll, and then after Satin Doll, we're going to play Autumn Leaves. You're not doing a concert of standards. You're really going to take the audience on a journey. And my guess is it's also going to be a journey where you are surprised along the way as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think every time I've written music for this group, we explore things, we find things in rehearsal, right? Of course. But then there's that thing that happens in a performance, in a concert, and you begin to have new discoveries, right? And you're beginning to figure out what works, right? What
Right.
doesn't work,
Right.
right? Or, finding another connection with the piece. Because, as you know, there's one thing to practice something, right? There's on your own, right? And then that completely changes when you go into rehearsal, right? Like
Right.
you hear it with everybody and you're like,
Right.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
But then it's something entirely different when you're on the concert stage, right?
Right. Exactly.
You try to represent the music the best that you can, but at least within the music that I write, that has a lot of improvisation. We are exploring new things, and we're exploring
Right.
things in real time
Right.
with the audience. So
Yeah, and Ian, I think that's a good way to sort of put a button on this and sum it up, because when people come to see a jazz ensemble, regardless, and we were talking about the differences between quintets, trios, quartets, duos, etc. We were talking about that, but really in the end, uh, because jazz is improvisatory and it is, constantly, that's people sort of think, it's all about playing what you feel, but I think it's not. I think that's very simplistic, and it's not really as true as it might be. What it is you're having a conversation.
Yeah.
When you're playing, you're having a conversation with the sax player who's having a conversation. I remember seeing years ago a bluegrass band called the Infamous String Dusters, and the
Okay.
entire night they including the double bass, by the way, they were on the stage at the Ram's Head, but they didn't stay still. They moved. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, the fiddle player was over here playing with the dobro player, and then the
Yeah.
guitar player would come over, and it was because they were having this conversation the whole night, and it kind of blew me away. So
Yeah, capturing that communicative aspect, right, amongst one another, right, and really trying to be present in that moment, right, and turn off the self-critic, right, and
right,
just trying to be there,
yeah,
and have a conversation, just like you and I are having a conversation
right,
right now, right, and then and the difference is that we're just having it in front of an audience,
right.
you know, so
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing. Well, let me just give a shout out to your band members: Amy Shook on bass, Frank Russo on drums, Mercedes Beckham on saxophone, Savino Palumbo is playing piano, and you,
yeah,
of course, are the guitarist,
yep, and then.
and a special guest.
Yeah, my wife, Tamara Tucker,
Okay.
she's a wonderful soprano. So there's no text in the music, and so
How,
she sings in a style that's more vocalese.
how very Brazilian of you.
Yes. Yeah,
That
so
that was a bit when I was conducting in Brazil. I used to get out of the orchestra rehearsal at the opera house, and I'd go sit and listen to. I'd be in the jazz clubs all night until like 3 in the morning,
yeah,
and that is a huge. That vocalese style is a huge style. So
yeah. And we definitely hear it. I mean, we hear it in a number of styles, but it seems to be pretty popular in jazz, and of course,
Mhm.
somebody like Pat Metheny,
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Uh,
Anyway, Ian, thank you so much for coming by.
yes, thank
I'm
you so
looking
much
forward
for
to
having
seeing
me.
you on December 1st at 7:30. It's going to
Awesome.
be great. Get your tickets, go to liveartsmd.org, and you can go to the website and you can find it, and we will be waiting for you. All right. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much.
See you soon.
Great. Take care.
Bye.